Good day, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Everyday People's Voice. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for staying tuned. President Bola Tinubu has advised the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi to find another worthy profession following his recent press conference. The Labour Party presidential candidate in the last election, Peter Obi, made an address in a recent press conference where he criticized the Supreme Court and the INEC for not declaring him the winner of the February 25th presidential election. According to the president, Peter Obi claimed that the justices of the Supreme Court did not consider the public opinion while delivering their judgment. He further accused Peter Obi of making false allegations of rigging and other misconduct while failing to produce concrete evidence to back up his claim at the lower and Supreme Court. My country people, in this video you are about to watch, una go see how they analyze the issue of wetin Peter Obi talk for a press conference and wetin our president Tinubu come tell Peter Obi. My country people, this one not be joke again. This one I mean they call clash of the titans. When two elephants dey fight, na grass dey suffer am. Without wasting una time, abeg make we jump into the video, make una see wetin I dey talk, make e no be like say na me only me I talk am with my mouth. Now make I say make I play the video, and abeg make una watch this video to the end, make una see how e be. Let's go.
Actions trailing the press conference organized by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, who stated, among several points, that the judgment of the Supreme Court that upheld the victory of President Bola Tinubu has damaged the confidence that Nigerians have in the judiciary. Peter Obi spoke in Abuja on Monday, 10 days after the Supreme Court of Nigeria affirmed Tinubu as Nigeria's president. Addressing the press, Peter Obi condemned the Independent National Electoral Commission, saying the commission displayed incompetence during the elections. Obi thanked Nigerians who supported the Labour Party and described the movement of the party as a revolution postponed.
This judgment amounts to a breach of confidence of Nigerians have in our judiciary. However, this end is only another beginning of our quest for vindication of hope of the common man for a better Nigeria. This year, 2023, has been quite remarkable and revealing. INEC displayed incompetence in the conduct of its statutory duties. It is one thing that has gladdened my heart in course of the struggle in the past 18 months. It is the passionate desire of our people, especially young Nigerians from across ethnic and religious divides, to construct a new and restructured Nigeria that will work for all Nigerians. The energy and dedication of Nigerian youth and obedient movement have been simply amazing. Going forward, we in Labour Party and the obedient movement are now effectively in opposition. We are glad that the nation has heard us loud and clear. We shall now expand the confines of our message of hope to the rest of the country.
Stated that Obi should find another worthwhile vocation and stop casting aspersion on the integrity of the justices of the Supreme Court for affirming Tinubu as winner of the February 25th election. Bayo Ononuga, the president's special advisor on information and strategy, in a post on X, accused Peter Obi of being delusional to believe that he could have won a national election where he ran a divisive and polarizing campaign. His statement reads in part: at the press conference where he tried in vain to gaslight Nigerians with false claims and innuendos, Mr. Obi contradicted himself. Here was a beneficiary of judicial pronouncements in the past, now castigating the Supreme Court because its judgment did not go his way. He made false allegations of rigging and other electoral malpractices, yet could not produce any evidence to back up his claims at both the Court of First first instance and the apex court. We expected the Labour Party candidate to know that the Supreme Court or any other court does not give judgment based on public opinion and mob sentiments. Judicial pronouncements are based on evidence, precedents, and the rule of law. Obi should have congratulated President TINÜBÜ for his victory and pledged his support in the spirit of statesmanship. But instead, he brought up extraneous matters that he thought the apex court should have considered to declare him the winner. In our view, the drowning Obi, just like Atiku, was merely attempting to hold on to a straw in raking up new allegations which exist only in his imagination and that of his hordes of supporters. Well, of course, you know, Rufai, Peter Obi has a lot of supporters, and they went after Bayo Onanuga on the street. I got a lot of reactions, you know, people just attacking Bayo Onanuga's tweets. Some people were even saying, I mean, what sort of campaign did you guys even run? What were your messages? Let me just take one tweet. This is not an attack, but this is a statement from Nzwike. He wrote, "The State House should rather quit from agonizing over this World Press Conference. They should rather focus on the message and leave the messenger alone." He raised quite some pertinent issues that if the State House was sincere and people enthroned would have taken cognizance of. Issues like why we allocated such ridiculous amount of money to the office of the First Lady, an office that has no constitutional representation. But no, as always, the State House has left matters of significant prominence to start raving over the love Nigerians have for the messenger and his message. More like the opposition. Again, stop the agonizing, focus on the message. I mean, there was a word there that I couldn't use, but you know, but that's basically what it is. Agonizing over, you know, somebody who has a right to actually speak against what he believes in at this point.
So, I mean, Mr. Peter Obi has 100% every right to speak against, you know, what he believes, speak against, you know, the electoral system. Yeah. And he just enunciated his point, and he said many things there. And the reaction by Mr. Bayo Onanuga was just missing the point and unnecessary. I mean, if you're attacking him, attacking his supporters, but we can also flip the script and remind Mr. Bayo Onanuga how he started ethnic baiting. And that thing you just said is correct, because he made that mention of that. This was the same Mr. Bayo Onanuga that wrote after the elections. He said this should be the last time people from a certain ethnic group that have been in Lagos for tens of years should never, I was talking to the Igbo, should never participate in the election. Mr. Bayo Onanuga said all sorts of things that were very, very bad during the election period. And when we say people that did rabble-rousing, you know, he really did a lot of it. But, you know, the elections are all over. Nigerians will try to heal from all of this. But one of the substance of the things Mr. Peter Obi talked about, he talked about the need, you know, for public opinion in society, which we cannot discountenance, which is very strong, which is germane. He also talked about, you know, the judicial system. And Mr. Bayo Onanuga saying that, yeah, the judicial system favored Mr. Peter Obi for. Yes, I mean, he made a point there as regards that. But we also sit down here and see a lot of judgments that have come out during this electoral period. You know, judgment here and there, the discrepancies, the differences and all of that. And it takes a lot to study. But we can't keep dialing and looking at the past. In moving forward, what are the things we ought to do? Yeah. He put forth some suggestions. He talked about things like a 5-year presidency tenure. Dr. Abati has enunciated the fact that Goodluck Jonathan has talked about it before now. Birthday Boy has enunciated that fact, you know. And probably how we can truly restructure this country to make it fit for purpose. But also, I would also add, by seeing how we can go back to the National Assembly to fix those laws, those lacunas in the electoral laws that make politicians able to wriggle their way through. I really have real conversations about the reform of INEC. Are we going to adopt the Ways report fully? See, I must have to state this strongly. If it will be that it's still the president that is picking who is going to be INEC chief leading up to the next election, then we are not ready yet. The Ways report has been on for a while. It's time for us to fully implement it. This is the time for you as citizens to also call the lawmakers and say, these are the things we want you to push in the House for us as regards electoral reforms. Also, I talked about the fact that the opposition too should come up with ideas. So it's not just, opposition is not just about criticizing the government on ground, but what are your counter ideas to what they have? That's why, yes, presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, talked about the office of the First Lady and all of that. That should not be the case. The 5 billion for yachts. But I am also saying, and somebody just sent me a message that I think he did criticize, but I didn't watch the full thing because I was in and out of it, that the Labour Party lawmakers too should be called out for collecting the 160 million for the cars they want to buy, because, I mean, if they say they were bringing a new idea forward. So this is the time for us to be able to effectively run our government and run our country. And we must have a boisterous and strong opposition.
Yes, this is the time to run our government,
They should have a think tank. They must have ideas they're putting forward. And we must have a robust political space. And please, we'd like to beg all the actors, stop ethnic baiting. Please, stop ethnic baiting. Don't destroy this country. Don't set it alight. Put your ideas forward robustly and let people enunciate on those ideas and debate on them.
Yeah, we must have a robust governance process at this point, and that's also the rhetoric on a lot of reactions that I have seen. I'll just take this one for last. This is from Ben, who wrote, responding to Bayo Onanuga's tweet, he wrote, 2 questions for you, sir. What issues did you campaign on during the election process? He said election process, apart from dancing to Kwamwan songs at campaign events loaded with unlimited gas. What have you brought upon the masses in the last 6 months, apart from hardship, pain, and suffering? Dr. Wörthy.
Well, first, when we discussed this subject earlier, I said, look, I didn't think the response by Mr. Bayo Onanuga was necessary. Calling Peter Obi a copycat and leader of a faction of the Labour Party, that wasn't necessary. Felix Möcked, the APC spokesperson, also responded. Now, vulnerability may be an asset in teamship, because when you are running a teamship regime, everybody wants to be heard. But vulnerability is not necessarily an asset in spokesmanship. There are certain things you don't react to. Now, the Supreme Court has ruled. After the Supreme Court, you can only go to God. Now, you cannot say people take part in an election. A ruling has been given by the Apex Court, and you do not allow them to put their, thoughts, their own opinion, on the table. So whatever Mr. Peter Obi said, it was perfectly within his right to make those claims and make those statements. Not that it will change anything, but at least he has made his feelings known. And what did he say? He said, look, the Supreme Court, didn't go by the law. And even if it went by the law, it was more interested in technicality rather than acting as a court of law and a court of policy. Okay?
Right.
Nobody can take him up on that. It is his right. And he said, look, the Supreme Court also overlooked fresh evidence that came. Yeah, he says public opinion is more important. Well, the Supreme Court said it acted within the province of the law, because the Supreme Court is not a marketplace where the mob will come and impose its own views. They will follow the law. If you disagree, well, that's the law. Only the Supreme Court can reverse itself. But his opinions are valid. So in other words, Mr. Bayo Onanuga is also saying, oh, he expected Mr. Peter Obi to congratulate President TINÜBÜ. Well, Waziri Atiku Abubakar has not congratulated him. Mr. Peter Obi has also refused to congratulate him. It is entirely within his prerogative to make his own choice in the matter. So abusing him for not congratulating, no, that is taking the matter too far. However, there are more substantial things that both Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi drew attention to. What is this? Both of them are saying we should not have a single term. Atiku Abubakar recommended 6 years for the presidential position, and I guess the same logic goes for governorship. Now, Mr. Peter Obi says he prefers 5 years, so that within a space of 30 years, there will be a resolve on the part of Nigerians that all the 6 geopolitical zones should go round so that all of us can have a sense of belonging in that presidential villa. Not that some people will take it for 8 years, then they will hand it over to another part of Nigeria for 8 years. That's a concrete issue that both Waziri Atiku Abubakar and Mr. Peter Obi have put on the table. And I made the point that this is not new. This was what President Goodluck Jonathan recommended years back. But at that time, you know, the thing was rejected on the basis that, oh, President Jonathan was looking for a way to do an additional 6 years. Is that an issue that we can begin to look at? That's number one. Number two, there are issues that have arisen from this whole electoral process and the various litigations with regard to sections of the Electoral Act, with regard to the Constitution. Now, the way we can move forward is to identify those particular relevant sections and begin to debate them so that the relevant bodies, the National Assembly, can amend the law accordingly. Because the job of deepening the electoral process in Nigeria is not a finished business. It's a continuing business. It is a journey. Absolutely. It's not a destination, as it were. The destination that we may only talk about will be the integrity of the process itself. Number three, Mr. Peter Obi says it's not as if anybody is going to drive him away from politics. He and the obedience, and I like the way he identified the obedient movement. That's, you know, him taking ownership of the obedient movement publicly. Yeah. And this is my first time of seeing him doing that, you know, at a very serious occasion. Yes. Now, he says they are going to go into the opposition. Yeah. Now, that's what we expect, that they will provide quality opposition, criticize government, but constructively, offer alternative ideas where necessary, and remind Nigerians that governance cannot be left only to the people who are in government. All of us will be in this matter. And this is why the media is also important. We are not opposition. We are just professionals. Finally, he was recommending a quasi-parliamentary presidential system of governance, saying that those in leadership positions must also be involved in the legislature. Now, that's like a parliamentary system. In some countries, you have a mixed system where you have presidential parliamentary. And it's not a fresh idea. Some people have also suggested that in the past. Can we also look at that? So we should focus on the ideas at this point and stop focusing on calling people a copycat, this and that. At the end of the day, Mr. Peter Obi is a citizen. Yes. And he has rights under the Constitution. And those rights include expressing his opinion about how Nigeria should move forward.